And then, like, my dream was to work for WWE. So when I was 18 years old, I drove my resume to there's like a gate guy, like a security guard. And I brought him my resume and I was like, oh, I have an appointment with Vince McMahon. Like, me and him are supposed to talk like today. He's like, no, you don't. Like, no. I'm like, well, can you like give his resume? Give me, or can you make my resume go to him? And that never happened. And then eventually, luckily for me, my uncle knew a guy who sold a car, like a used car, to one of the lawyers at WWE. And that got me my first interview. And then I got an interview, and I failed two. You had to do three. I failed two of them horrifically. And then I interviewed for this guy, Tommy Carlucci, who you can see him on TV all the time. He was like the ringside guy for a long, long time. But he is like the head of international television at WWE, and he originally started as like a stock boy, like he unloaded the trucks and stuff like that. And he was the first person because everybody told me when I interviewed there, they're like, you cannot tell them that you love wrestling. You cannot say it. You will not be hired. But I told Tommy, I was like, Tom, I love wrestling. I am in love with it. I love everything about it, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, you know what, kid? You're hired. You're freaking hired. And like, I don't know. It was, that I will always owe probably a lot of my life and um, my happiness to Tom, because Tom is him and his family, they're good people. And yeah, he knew. He's like, you're going to be great for this company. Like, you need to love wrestling to work here. And even though the other departments tell you, oh no, you can't like it. You have to be like an ESPN guy or an NBC guy or whatever. He's like, I know that you will work hard because you like it. And I started off cutting I used to edit like bumpers for Velocity and Heat. Um, and back in the day, we didn't have computers, so we did it on a reel to reel, and I cut all those bumpers like for all those shows. And the best part of my job, to be honest with you, was that every day I got to watch Raw 3 times. So so it was so awesome, and SmackDown eventually, but Raw, I got to watch 3 times because I had to do the American version, the European version, and then the Chinese version, and then oh no, 4, sorry, and then the Middle East version, which you couldn't show women and stuff like that on. So I was like, this is the best job I've ever had in my life. Are you kidding? I get to watch Raw 4 times a day. Are you kidding me? This is amazing. So yeah, I think that's how it started. And then I got the writer position because they weren't hiring full time in the production department, and I was like making $10 an hour, I think, at that point. And I saw a job for $24,000 a year to be a writer's assistant, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have to have this! Like, this would be the best thing that ever happened to me." So I went to the HR department. I was like, "Hey, I would like to sign up for this job." And they're like, "Well, you're not really qualified. We mostly hire people from Hollywood, and you know, um, it's probably not a good chance." I said, "Well, I'm going to apply." And they said, "Well, you have to write a script, and you have 2 weeks to write a script." So I wrote a script in one night, and it revolved around JBL being killed and and all sorts of stuff. And it eventually ended up on Michael Cole's desk because he worked with me in international, because I used to do the Spanish broadcast of SmackDown every night. So when you do the Spanish broadcast of SmackDown, you also have the American broadcast going on at the same time. So Taz and Michael are in the other room, and then I have Hugo and Carlos. And I used to see them, and they used to give me a hard time and like bust my balls. And then Michael read it, and he was like, "Dude, this is really good. Like, this is really cool. Like, we need to give this to like we need to show it to somebody else." So he gave it to Stephanie, and then after that, I got hired, and I got hired on the same day that Ted DiBiase got hired. So I was working there, right? Oh, this is so wow, wow. I was working there, and I still had my job to do, you know? Like, I still had to cut velocity bumpers, you know? Like, oh my god, up next is Johnny Parisi versus Matt Stryker, you know, whatever crap match it was, you know? And then they told me they're like, "Oh, you got to go interview with Stephanie." So I literally had to like get up, go into the lobby, which I already worked at the place. It was so weird. I worked at the place, and they're like, "You have to sit there and wait for her to call you in. Like you're gonna sit in the lobby." I'm like, "I have work to do. Like I got a bunch of shit to do. Like lunch is coming up. Like I don't know." And all of a sudden, Ted DiBiase walks in, and he sits down next to me, and I am like panicking. I am panicking. Like, oh my God, the $1 million man, Ted DiBiase, is sitting right next to me. And he just looks at me and goes, "What are you doing here, kid?" And I said, "I'm interviewing for a job, but I like have another job here still." He's like, "Well, I am too. Good luck." And I was like, "What is happening?" And then me and Ted DiBiase interviewed, and we both got hired the same day. Yeah. Then I had to interview with Stephanie after that, and I kept saying to myself, "Can I say this? Can I say this word? Can I say bad words on this?"
You can say anything you want.
Oh, I kept saying to myself, "Don't look at her tits. Don't look at her tits. Don't look at her tits." And the whole time I was looking at her tits, you know? It's like, oh my God. Oh my gosh. Because like she was like a dream girl to me, you know? But yeah, I eventually I did it. I think she kind of liked that I looked at her chicks. In my opinion, I think she liked it.